What's going on, guys? Tony Maritato here. So in this video, I want to talk about a new revenue stream, a new profit model for your business, especially if you're a mobile therapist. So one of the biggest frustrations as a mobile therapist is that you don't want to lug around all this heavy equipment. And one of the conversations that always comes up between you and the patient is about equipment. What if you don't have the equipment? What if they want the equipment? I can tell you that when I opened my first brick and mortar clinic, I can distinctly remember this individual patient who walked in the door. Now, you're a therapist just like me. I know we can treat patients with just about nothing. Give me something heavy to pick up and a little creativity, and I'll figure out a treatment plan. But to the patient, it seems like if we don't have the equipment, we're not going to be able to take care of them. And so as frustrating as it was, I remember this client walked in my door. I had 800 square feet. Couple primary pieces of equipment that I thought were important. Patient looks around, or the individual looks around. He's like, "Oh, you can't help me." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "I have a referral for physical therapy, but you don't have any equipment. You can't help me." And that, like, the light turned on in my head to make me realize the equipment is as much about the sales experience as any of my marketing material. So I want to talk to you about marketing the equipment in a way that turns profitability up in your business model. So we know, you guys probably know, therapists have been, dispensing TENS units, dispensing canes and walkers and wheelchairs and all sorts of assistive devices for decades. And often some of the more expensive assistive devices are rentals before they become purchases. So what I'm recommending to you to consider is that, let's say, for example, you have a patient, and this is a real case scenario that's going on right now with a therapist. You have a patient who's going to have a total knee replacement. The patient does not currently own a recumbent bike or any kind of exercise stationary bike in their home. They would like one, they don't own one. So the first clue here is, because they don't already own one, they're probably not going to want one sitting in their house taking up room after they're finished with therapy. So what I'm recommending is, and I just talked to my liability coverage provider, and they confirmed that they do cover this kind of service, is that just as I would dispense and rent a TENS unit or an assistive device, I'm going to purchase and rent to this individual a recumbent bike. I'm going to choose the recumbent bike based on certain criteria that I've established as important for somebody with a total knee replacement. I'm going to purchase it. I'm going to assemble it. I'm going to deliver it to the home while I come for one of my therapy sessions. And then the individual is going to pay me a monthly rate. I believe probably the best case scenario is they rent it for the first month. You establish a monthly rate. We'll talk about what that rate should be. Then after that month, if they want to keep the bike, they rent it on a weekly basis. So what should the cost be? Well, it depends, right? I'm not going to rent a $2,500 high-end commercial recumbent bike for the same price I'm going to rent a $200 low-end economic home bike. So what I would recommend is, I've shown some bikes already. I shared it into one of my Facebook groups. On Amazon, you can pick up a Sunny brand recumbent bike that's got the low profile, easy to step through, perfect for somebody who's had a knee replacement, easy adjustable seat. It's got all the criteria that I'd be looking for. I think the bike costs like $160. So what I would do is I would do a $200 rental for the first month. Now, I'm sure you're like, well, wait a minute. Why would they rent it if they can just buy it for less? Well, because when they rent it from me, they're getting the bike fully assembled, delivered, placed where they want. But most important, I think the highest value in this whole proposition is that I come and remove the bike when they don't need it anymore. So it's not taking up floor space. It doesn't become another closet. They're not hanging their bras and underwear on it. It literally is there for when they need it, gone when they don't. Plus the added value of knowing, hey, this bike was chosen by a physical therapist who treats this specific condition because he or she understands the needs of the client, and this is the best option in my price range. And so what I would do is I would structure the deal where I'd say, okay, I buy this bike for whatever it was, 160 bucks. I do a $200 minimum 1 month rental, probably 300, but let's just go with 200. Okay, they rent it for the month. They get the weekly option, 25. Let me think about this for a second. If they want to rent it for an extra week, we would be doing $50 a week on the first month. So I don't know. I'd probably be charging them 25 bucks a week, truthfully, because they already had the first month commitment. And then if they want to just rent to own, if they want to purchase essentially the bike and keep it at their house, awesome. They rent it for a certain period of time. They now own it. It's their bike. I can still remove it for them if they want to get rid of it, but if they want to keep it, it's theirs. So I think this is a great opportunity. I can foresee so many doors that open with this kind of arrangement. For example, we could start looking at obviously renting the bike, potentially some of the smaller footprint ellipticals and cross trainers. We could look at other devices, higher end devices. We know patients love the Game Ready. I don't believe it adds any value, but if the patient loves it, wants to pay out of pocket for it, I mean, it's a $2,500 to $3,000 device. They could certainly rent it from us. There's other things that we could do. I personally would tend to stay on the lower cost, higher margin side of the market. But I just want you to think like massagers, right? Like a Hypervolt or any of the massage guns that people love to use. They can rent it from you. There are so many things, and I would try my best to stay in that area where 1 month rental pays the full retail cost of the device. This way, when I do get it back, heaven forbid it's damaged or irreparable. Who cares? I got back my initial investment. But in most cases, it's going to be returned in great condition, and then I can rent it again and again and again. So guys, if you've ever thought about doing something like this, obviously the first responsibility is check with your liability coverage. When I talk to, and I'm going through a couple different companies, but when I talk to HPSO, for example, they said a situation like that, if the product injured the patient under my plan of care, it would be a personal injury situation and I would be covered under my existing policy. With another policy, I had to add a product. It wasn't a rider, but let's just call it a rider. A product rider, so that the products that I was dispensing and selling, if they hurt one of my patients, we were covered for personal injury. Obviously, it's not a replacement policy. So if I, dispense or rent a bike and it gets broken, the insurance company is not going to replace the bike. Who cares? I got the full retail value of the bike anyway. Anything after that is just bonus. So I really think this is a cool opportunity. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I'm sure a lot of you are just rolling this idea over in your head thinking like, that's crazy. Why would you ever do it? There's so much risk. It's okay. It's not for you. It's not for you. There's a small minority of aggressive, entrepreneurial-minded therapists that are out there who will hear this idea and start to run with it, start to develop it, start to brainstorm what they can do. I mean, you've got stuff like the QB, you've got little exercise pedalers that you can buy for 25 bucks. I already mentioned the TENS units. There are so many things that are out there that patients don't want for the rest of the useful life of the product, but they want it when they need it. So guys, let me know what you think. I'll catch you on the next video.